Hello again, everyone. I'm Richard Weil, and I'm the principal and owner of National Restaurant Consultants. And I'm talking to you live from Gillette, Wyoming, where I've been up here for the last 3 or 4 days working in the beautiful Cowboy State. And today we welcome in, of course, our co-branding marketing partner, Mr. Brian Devine. Hello, Brian.
Hey, Richard, how are you, sir?
Good, good. So hopefully my internet will work great up here. We'll see. If not, we'll pivot over to Brian a little bit. But our special guest today is a gentleman who is a industry icon in the food service and hospitality industry, Mr. Elliot Katz, who is going to talk about networking. And Elliot has been around the food service and hospitality industry for a couple of weeks, I think, right, Elliot? Maybe a couple.
Yeah, pretty much, maybe 3 or 4 weeks now.
Yeah, 3 or 4 weeks. And he is coming all the way from, I believe, Oakland Hills in California, right?
Yes.
And so we are really in 3 states today, which is great. So Elliot, I know it's near and dear to your heart, and you've made a absolute uh, impact on the industry. You're an impact person, but you're an industry giant, and you're giving back to the industry as well as working with students, young people, and professionals. Networking. Talk about networking.
I'll do that. I got a couple of comments first about networking, just a definition. Everybody has a definition, but networking is establishing connections that are mutually satisfying, helpful, and uplifting. They also create the linkage between people and clusters of people. And it's also a systematic process of meeting people, learning about them, establishing relationships, that all parties establish and expand a base of resources to support their endeavors. So basically, it's getting people together.
Yep.
Absolutely. So there's some strategies that I've used over the years, and they're pretty basic. And one of them is you got to have a goal. You got to know what you're doing if you want, what kind of people you want to meet. And since we're in the food service industry, and my few weeks is actually 60 years, 10 year, about 53 years in the coffee business, and about 7 years in the family-owned bakery business actively. So I've been around a couple of years, and I belong to numerous associations of the past bailli of the La Chaîne de Rotisseur in San Francisco for 15 years, sat on the advisory boards, the University of San Francisco's hospitality program, San Francisco State, City College, you name it, I was on it, and a longtime member of IFSCA, probably the oldest member of IFSCA. But anyway, you got to have a goal. You got to know what kind of people you want to meet. You want to seek a when you get into these organizations, you want to seek a leadership position. You want to know somebody, you want to be more important than the next person. And I'll tell you, I like to use my own examples that I've used in sales meetings for years. If you've ever seen me in dress in my suits, all my suits have Hawaiian print linings and other bright, shiny materials. And when I was on a coffee truck 50 years ago, and we wore suits and ties in those days on coffee trucks, people wanted to look inside my coats. So that differentiated me from the other 74 people standing in line trying to make a call. Uh, to network right, you got to give to gain. You got to help others. The old saying, giver's gain, means you should first give and then you'll gain from that giving. And I call it karma. I mean, I used to have a sign on my desk that said, really basically, lead, follow, or get out of the way. And the more calls you made, the luckier you get. So, and you also always have to be prepared. Most people in the sales organizations are prepared from about 9 o'clock Monday till about 2:30 on Friday, and then they forget about the nights, evenings, weekends, etc. You always have to be ready to make a pitch. You never know who you're going to meet. I met a guy on an airplane one that offered me a job to run a company in Omaha, Nebraska, and I took it for a year, just because we struck up a conversation, because we both had beards in those days, and nobody else, and we were flying first class, so who knows? But you always have to have a pitch ready, and when you use those pitches, you have to have a good open-ended question. You got to ask something, and you got to listen. And then once you meet somebody, you got to follow up. Most people, and not just email. I mean, email, even today in my consultation in the coffee business, we get people that answer people by email and then it's gone. They have no idea if it's been received, accepted, or responded to. So you need to seek feedback. You need to take advice from your information. So you you got to use other than email. I use thank you notes still, old-fashioned written thank you notes. Nobody gets a thank you note in the mail anymore. I use all. You have to learn about these people. You have to learn about whether they're Republican, Democrat, how many kids they have, how many family members they have, what association they belong to. Never want to make a mistake in conversation and get into a political fight when you're trying to network, so to speak. And my very firm law, very firm, don't sell at networking events. Too many people try to sell. Nobody wants to hear you at a networking event when they're in between cocktails. All they want to do, when I taught my salespeople or train my salespeople, the only thing you want to do at a network event is to meet people and get a phone number. And then you will determine whether or not they're an active prospect. You know, it's fascinating that all the consultation, all the consulting companies and the consultants that I've worked with over the years, a lot of them say you got to make cold calls. Well, the best tell you you don't want to make a cold call. You want to make a warm call. You want to warm that call up, and that's what you do at these networking events and anywhere else you go. If you're even in an elevator, like so to speak, you want to warm the call up. In the food service business, at least in the coffee business, and it may differ in others, but it probably does it. If you walk into a restaurant or a hotel or something, you have to make a determination whether you're going to sell it. You can sell it profitably, and profit is another whole story that most salespeople don't understand how to make a profit in the business. But you got to work and you got to warm the call up. So you observe, you got to observe, and you look and you talk to people. You talk to a wait person, you talk to a busboy, you talk to a client. I mean a customer. You find out more about that particular location and whether you're going to take the time to pursue it. So those are just some of the basic things about networking.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, I've got a couple of other things though. The mistakes. There are mistakes that we do. First mistake is you don't have a plan. You expect a great opportunity to come your way simply because you're showing up. You know, it's fascinating. I worked with salespeople, and they would drive the car down the street, and I would call what they call the wave approach. They look at a hotel and they say, well, it says Hilton on it, we can't sell it, and they wave at it, and they drive by it. I said, well, why don't we walk in and find out if you can sell it? How do you know you can't sell it? You should talk to somebody. And maybe when you talk to somebody, that person's going to go down the street into an independent property. You don't know, but you have to have a plan. You got to know your goals. You got to identify the people you could help. Number two, the big mistake, you're not volunteering. You got to volunteer. You got to volunteer. And there's 1,000 places to volunteer that will help your career and help your networking. And it's not just like the Leukemia Society, which I was on the advisory board for 25 years here and the national trustee for a year or two. You got to volunteer in the colleges and the high schools, in the food service schools particularly, and you'd be surprised how many people. And you don't count how many people you have on LinkedIn. Although you got to use LinkedIn, very, very important to use LinkedIn. It doesn't matter how many people you have, it does the quality of people. I've got 400 and some odd on there, and I probably could have 2,000. And the reason is that of the 400, I probably know all 400, and I can respond back. Once in a while, there's somebody I forgot about. But what good is it having a name on a calendar or a name on a piece of television screen, so to speak, or on a computer screen? The other one that's very interesting, I can tell you a story, is in your networking, you're only talking to qualified buyers, okay? So you only want to talk to qualified buyers. Well, you got to talk to everybody. And a great example is in the San Francisco newspapers about 35 years ago, there was a Rolls-Royce dealer on Venice Avenue, which is the fire break for the earthquake in 1906. Venice Avenue stopped the fire. That's how wide it was. Anyway, it's a Rolls-Royce dealer, and in comes a cowboy with a hat, boots, and an old pair of jeans with 2 suitcases. And the very proper British gentleman in those days had tuxedos on, basically, had a trainee. And they said to the trainee, you go help that guy. The guy walks over and says, introduces himself. The guy says, I'll take that one. I'll take this one. And he had 2 suitcases full of money. So you just never know, right? Yep. So you got to talk to everybody, and you build your rapport. and you keep your eyes out in these things, and you look around. And the next mistake you make in those same things is you're trying to sell, and you're sitting telling this long story. Nobody wants to hear you. Again, I remarked about that in my first remarks. Nobody wants to hear you talk. And the old adage, everybody's been in sales and everybody's been trained. You got one mouth and two ears, and so you got to listen. And again, it goes down to get your don't talk too much. People talk too much. They like to hear themselves talk. Dead silence sometimes is an interesting thing. We used to in role playing, when I was the customer, so to speak, I would say nothing. And now you have a salesperson sitting in front of you. What do you say when the customer says nothing? Interesting comment. The other comment, the question I used to ask is, what does no mean to you? Yeah. And to me, no means maybe. And there's only a couple of people that I probably couldn't sell. And I don't think you guys could sell it either. And that's a relative of somebody else in the same business you're in. Most likely. The other person that I won't sell is somebody that has financial difficulties. If I perceive a financial difficulty, or I heard about it, I won't sell them. And if I do put an account on in the old days, and the corporate hierarchy says they're a credit risk, I'd walk away. Nobody wants problems. In fact, we paid our salespeople when I was the vice president of Superior Coffee at the Sara Lee division. We paid them part of the bonuses on day sales outstanding, on collecting money, because we try to teach them that's how you make your money. You got to collect. You have to have cash flow.
So, Elliot, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Unfortunately, my boarding of this plane is going on right now, so I'm going to have to say so long for now. But I'll let you and Brian kind of finish things off. But I will say this: everything that Elliot is saying applies to all components of the food service and hospitality industry, whether you're in a restaurant or a hotel. It's networking, it's greeting the guest, it's smiling, it's listening, it's the 2 eyes, 2 ears, and 1 mouth. And so those things are positive. Elliot, I want to thank you, and I'm sorry I have to bow out because I didn't think this flight was going to board, but it started a few minutes ago, and they're kind of doing last call here. So I've got to kind of fly out. So Brian, I'll let you kind of finish off. Elliot, it was a pleasure seeing you again today. And I'm going to hang off, but I will talk to you all later. Brian, I'll catch up with you soon. Thank you again, both of you. Thank you.
Have a safe trip, Richard.
Thank you.
All right, Brian. So I only got a few more comments. So
Yes,
the other thing that I was not super familiar with until recently, or fairly recently, especially when your children and your grandchildren tell you that you're antiquated, is you're not connected with people on LinkedIn, but the proper way. You want to know the people that are on LinkedIn. I refuse more than I accept on LinkedIn because it just clogs things up. And you see. In fact, I've been at my age, and I'll be 78 in August. I've been getting more job inquiries than I did when I was 45 years old.
Sure.
That's one of the downfalls of LinkedIn, is that because of security reasons or personal reasons or whatever, they don't put your age on there. But when you read my resume, you could kind of figure it out. If you graduated college in 1965, somebody could add, but hopefully these people could add, but they're not, obviously. I had 8 of them this morning, all in the coffee industry, looking for a sales manager or vice president of sales. And lastly, about networking, the biggest mistake I think that most people make is they're not adding any value. If you've identified opportunities to help people, even if they don't seem to be potential buyers, you got to follow through. You got to add value without asking for anything in return. You got to build goodwill. One of the principles that I've always do, and I still do today, is I answer my phone wherever I can. And now that we have cell phones, it's a lot simpler than we used to carry pagers or put dimes into the pay phones. But I answer my phone unless I'm in a hot tub or on an airplane. I usually answer my phone. I was in Alaska last week, and you can answer your phone there. In parts of the place I was, there is no telecommunication, which is kind of refreshing, to tell you the truth. So you got to think of the principle of reciprocity. do a favor for somebody else, make them more likely to do something for you. And again, it goes to karma. Okay? Pay it forward. Believe in karma. That's my religion.
Excellent.
Brian?
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Elliot. I appreciate all of that. I wanted to add just two quick things. Number one is something that I learned actually from Robert Cialdini. He's the kind of the guru of influence. And one thing that he said, and he used data to back it up, is that if you want to be the most interesting person in the room, ask more questions. And that really goes to what you were talking about. And it's not about trying to seem interesting. It's about making other people feel interested, right? So that if you are interested in them, they're going to be much more likely to connect with you. So that was the first thing that popped up. And there was something else that popped into my mind, but I just realized we're at 15 minutes. So everyone that has been joining us today, thank you so much for your time. And to what Elliot said with just volunteering and doing favors and adding value. If, again, there is anything that we can do to help, to support you, if you have questions, hit us up here on Facebook. You can go to National Restaurant Consultants website, CafeFuel.rocks. All of these places, we're just here to help and answer questions and see what we can do to support the industry. So, Elliot, thank you again, and we look forward to seeing everybody again real soon. That's it for me. Bye for now.